Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. Last time, we were in the hospital when there was a news bulletin on the monitor in the waiting room saying that the new gen culprit had been arrested. Let's find out who they're saying the new gen culprit is. Maybe we're not going to see a face yet. So a news report announcing the arrest of the new gen culprit. I repeat. Our report concerns the colloquially named New Generation Madness, a series of murder cases occurring in Shibuya. At 3:30 PM today, the man suspected to be behind the crucifixion case that occurred on September the 29th was arrested. The suspect is 25-year-old Kamado Shingo, who was unemployed at the time of his arrest. Have we seen that name before? I feel like we haven't. Komeda Shingo. As per the interview conducted in the Shibuya police station earlier today, the suspect is currently only believed to be behind the murder of Ota Hisashihan. And the police intend on pursuing charges for the other incidences as soon as the investigation into the third concludes. The suspect has confessed to the murder of Ota-san, testifying the following. Ota-san was stalking the woman I was with. And we refused to let him up. No, refused to let up. Eventually I couldn't take it anymore, so I snapped and strangled him, but since he was a zombie and wasn't dying, I crucified him to stop him from moving anymore. The rest of his testimony is littered with countless other incomprehensible claims. According to the police investigation, it was found that the suspect was not, in fact, with anyone at the time of the murder, and they suspect he may have been under the influence of pharmaceutics. I was in a state of sheer disbelief. The TV screen was repeatedly broadcasting a recording of the suspect being transported by car. The flashes coming from the mass media surrounding the car made the screen flicker violently. The suspect was completely covered by his jacket, so I couldn't see his face. Taku. Rimi whispered to me as I stared at the TV screen. Her hand squeezed my own. See, Taku? You really aren't the culprit. That Shogun guy was just a silly little prank someone was playing on you. And Kozanuki-san just came to the wrong conclusion. Right? With this, a neat little bow's been put on on pretty much everything. You don't need to be afraid of something lurking in the dark anymore. She was right. Since the culprit behind this crucifixion had been arrested, that automatically meant it couldn't have been me. I hadn't been sleepwalking, nor did I have multiple personalities. This proved that I was completely normal. And at the same time, it also proved that I'd seen Rimi covered in blood at the scene. It wasn't real. It had to be a delusion I'd come up with. It was over. The nightmare that had been tormenting me without end for almost a month was finally over. Being afraid of shadows, being afraid of God's gaze, trying desperately to get a D-sword. None of those things were necessary anymore. But even so, why? Why was there this feeling of unease deep within my chest? Shogun being a prank, and the person behind it was just stalking me for shits and giggles. It just didn't feel realistic. But maybe I was only thinking like that because I pretty much forgotten all normal logic and reasoning over the last month. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Uh-oh. It was on vibrate, but phones still weren't allowed in the hospital. I feel like that's changed now. I think that you can have a phone in the hospital. I let go of Rimi, exited through the front entrance and pulled out my phone. Hello? Who is it? I braced myself. You May Pass might have started playing again. I quickly went to check the name of the caller. Calling restricted. But it was a restricted number. I was hit with a really bad feeling. But when I frantically went to hang up... Big bro! The horribly pained voice that had come through the phone was unmistakably Nanami's. Nami? Give me back my right hand. Oh my god. Was it a delusion? The shop specialising in Jiro Froggy merchandise was known as Top Frog. You don't have a soft ch in merchandise. Was known as Top Frog. That pun was likely an attempt to leave a good impression on its customer base. But Ban could only sigh at what he felt was akin to a dad joke. At present, Top Frog had about 20 branches established around the capital region, and it was showing no signs of slowing down in its expansion. Ban was currently visiting the very first branch situated in Harajuku, a place often cited as paradise by the biggest Jiro Froggy fans. Ban, however, quickly came to regret this decision. Ugh, boy. Yua-chan? Mind if we take off? He spoke in a low voice to Yua, the girl that had guided him to the shop. But didn't Momose-san ask you to buy a Jiro Froggy for her? Right, but come on now. A guy my age is just completely out of place here. Scores of young people happily trotted along Takeshita Dori, but the vast majority passed by without even so much as glancing at the shop. Only a few people were standing inside the actual store. In fact, aside from Ban and Yua, there were only 3 customers in total, all of which were high school girls. Due to Ban's unkempt appearance, walking along Takeshita Dori with Yua inevitably served to portray him as a man of obscene intentions. He was just going to buy one of the plushes that was so popular nowadays, but that was what any stereotypical old pervert would say. A notion that brought down Ban's spirits considerably. On top of that, I don't know. I just can't shake the feeling that someone's watching me. Could be that I'm just a little too focused on myself for my age, though. Oh, me too, actually. Recently, I've been feeling someone's gaze on me, and every now and then when it happens, I feel very, very afraid. Oh, so it's not just me. Though, while it doesn't bother me, that might be something to worry about in your case, Yua-chan. If someone happened to be stalking you. That can't be it. Please don't suggest something so frightening. Don't worry. Anyone who tries will find themselves in handcuffs before they can say hey. Resolving the topic with a grin, Ban stared fixedly at the various frog characters lined up along the shelves. I'm curious. How many times have you been to this place, Yua-chan? This is actually my first time here. Doesn't look like there's many customers around. Is this the calm before the storm or something? Well, I've heard that it gets really crowded from Friday to Sunday. Oh, and that's because a new tarp gets released every weekend. I hear Friday in particular has a very long line. They open up at around 6 PM to give students a chance to get one, but... And this is just a rumour. The line for this shop alone covers the entirety of Takeshita Dori. Just the weekends, eh? This is growing more suspicious by the second. Ban went to pick up 2 of the Teary Jiro Froggies that had released last week, then headed to the register. Yua, not buying anything herself, followed behind him. Welcome, my dude. The store employee was a vacuous-looking man in his 20s. His hair had been dyed green and he had earrings in. If he were not behind the register, he certainly would not look like a clerk at the... he would not look like a clerk to the passing observer. At the very least, it was no outfit to be serving customers in. The employee stared at the 2 without relent or nor restraint. Present for the daughter? Yep, you got it.
My baby girl wouldn't stop twisting my arm, so now we're here. But I suppose you gotta just suck it up and act like a dad every once in a while.
Ban forced a smile as he looked ingratiatingly at the younger shop clerk. Yua's gaze fell to the floor as her face turned to one of shock. Nonetheless, she did not break the father and daughter charade.
That aside, these frogs have got me real curious. Mind telling me a thing or two about them? First off, are these gecko froggies really that popular?
Dude, the Geo Froggies. I mean, they're like turbo, bonkers popular. It's crazy, man.
Oh, Jeppo froggies are they? I heard that a new product comes out every weekend. That true?
I said Geo Froggies, my dude. Righteous. And, like, my man, don't call them products. All stuffy like that. They're Avant Giro buddies, bro. We line them up, Friday, Sat, Sunday, and they sell like turbo bonkers fast. It's seriously crazy, man. They seriously sell like turbo bonkers fast, man. And I really mean turbo bonkers, dude. Righteous. I like this guy. Yua's brow narrowed in response to the young man. Bonkers seems to be a favourite word of the shop clerk, and something felt odd to her about it. Why is he emphasising part of it so much? She wondered. It likely was not intentional, but it almost felt as if the young clerk was saying Ban's name in some capacity.
This label says made in China and something or other, but do you know who the actual manufacturer is?
Was that the manufacturer? Come on, dude. Don't act like Giro Froggy is some kind of brand. Giro Froggies are free creatures, man. You gotta get with the program. Seriously, that's turbo uncool. Let me tell you this. Giro Froggies, they aren't made. They're born. And it's bonkers. Unsurprisingly, the conversation was getting to be too much for Ban, leaving him on the verge of rupture. In order to prevent this, he swiftly ended the conversation, handed over the money, and then left the store with Yua in tow.
Sheesh. Did they even train shop clerks in this day and age? Youngsters these days can't hold a decent conversation to save their lives. And what was it with that get-up? Looked like the circus came to town.
Indeed. Ah! Yua came to an abrupt halt. She grabbed Ban's suit cuff and pulled him to a stop as well. Look at that, Ban-san!
What is it?
Yua was pointing in the direction of a white 2-ton truck. It was pulled over on the side of the road and a number of cardboard boxes were being unloaded from the cargo bed. The boxes were carried one after the other into the back of the Giro Froggy shop.
Well, would you look at that? Those must be the new Giro Froggy PDs. Froggy Pitties. Coming out tomorrow.
It's Giro Frog.
I never would have noticed that. Nice catch, Yua-chan.
No, it was just happenstance. Usually the cargo bed of a truck would have had a company name or logo emblazoned on it somewhere, but the one before Ban and Yua was completely blank. However, the cardboard boxes being carried inside had something resembling a company name written beside a few Giro Froggy illustrations.
Faithworks Limited. Ever heard of them?
No. I can't say I have.
In that case, we ought to pay Momo-chan a little visit.
We're back at Takumi's home. We parted ways with Masumi-kun at the station, then headed straight back to my base. The whole way there, it felt like I was stumbling my way through a nightmare. Nanami's face kept popping into my mind, and each time it did, her expression was different. Nanami had always been the type to wear her heart on her sleeve. When she was angry, she'd puff out her cheeks and pout, and when she was happy, she'd smile so wide, it'd make even me embarrassed. Memories of all these different expressions made my heart thump again and again, almost painfully so. That phone call from before, the things she'd said, what the hell had they meant? They could only mean that the bandage wrapped around her arm when I'd seen her at school must have been. Where could she be now? At school? Or maybe she'd already gone back home. I mean, it couldn't have been an army, could it? Come on, Taku. You gotta look where you're going. I don't want you to trip. Supported by Remy, the two of us came out on the roof. Red now, right? What is it? I was thinking of heading back to my parents' house now, actually. Now? That's kinda sudden. It shouldn't take more than half an hour to get there on foot. And, I want you to come with me. As I made that request, I was so nervous. My heart felt like it would burst out of my chest. I was even somewhat surprised that those words had managed to come out of my mouth at all. Asking someone for something. It was something I'd never been able to do before. Before now. Whoop. No way. She firmly declined. I don't want to go. I couldn't believe my ears. I would have never thought she'd respond like that. Before that moment, Remy had always listened to me, no matter how selfish I was being. She'd always helped me, supported me. So I'd assumed that she would agree without question, no matter what I asked her. But now that I thought about it again, I was the weird one for assuming she'd never refuse. I'd gotten too used to her taking care of me. I was being too presumptuous, expecting too much of her. Oh. Besides, Remy turned her back to me, and then she wrapped her arms around herself. Besides, you really shouldn't go there either, Taku. What do you mean? Stay away from your parents' house. She spoke firmly, almost like she was ordering me not to go. I was at a loss. I had no idea what Remy was trying to achieve by saying that. She talking? This is so weird. What kind of face was Remy making as she had her back to me? I didn't know. You're not making any... It's better if you don't know. Her voice carried a sense of urgency. She felt like a completely different person from before. You should stay in this container house for the rest of your life, if you can help it. If you won't do that for me, this won't end well. Won't end well? Wait, this was a delusion, right? Or was it real? Suddenly, a high-pitched sound pierced my ears. One that sounded almost like a woman's scream. A strong gust of wind swept over the rooftop. The air trembled. My vision was overwhelmed by a blinding sheet of deep crimson. With no idea what had just happened, I turned my face to the light. And when I looked at the top of the container house, there she stood. Senna? There she is. Ayui Senna, D-sword in hand. The source of the light was her D-sword, glimmering against the sky. But something was strange. When I'd seen it before, Senna's D-sword had emitted a blue glow. The sound vanished. The wind stopped. Who is saying this? I need an answer, now. Oh, no, it's Senna. Her voice was sharp, her glare cold. Her eyes glistened with unmistakable animosity. Were you the bastard who wrote this? As she spoke, she thrust out a piece of paper with IR2 scribbled on it. My essay. For some reason it was all scrunched up. Why did Senna have that? Why was Senna here? Illegal trespassing. Oh, illegal trespassing. Those words popped into my head, immediately followed by the realization that she'd searched my room. But what for? I said I need an answer. I did. Why do you want to know? Takumi-san. Oh, next came the sound of Kozupi's inner voice. She was behind Senna. She was clinging to Senna's legs, and her face was peeking out from behind them. She had an urgent look on her face as she looked at me. Run away! Huh? Right as Kozupi screamed, Senna leapt from the roof. She held the sword high, and... Look out! She killed Rimi. Rimi yanked my arm and I fell backward. I quickly looked back up and saw the place I'd been standing only moments prior. Senna's sword had hollowed out the floor of the rooftop. It had such insane destructive power, such tremendous sharpness that it didn't feel real. The impact that had been great enough to destroy the concrete, and yet the sword didn't even have a scratch on it. Weren't these swords supposed to be things people couldn't see, let alone touch? A certain term crossed my mind. Real boot. Her sword had been real booted. Through the mutual recognition of the four people here, Senna's D-sword had gone from her delusion to reality. It was now a great sword that could cut down a person for real. If Rimi hadn't pulled me away in time, it'd been bisected. I would have been bisected from head to toe by that beautiful sword of hers. It would have been instant death. Shivers ran down my entire body. Just now, Senna had unmistakably tried to kill me. Why? My head was overrun with confusion. The two of us had been eating Crunchy Coons together just the other day. Kozupi had been there with us. It was true that our relationship wasn't far enough for me to call us friends. And that even back then, Senna had been acting scary the whole time. But even so, she shouldn't have hated me enough to suddenly come after me with a D-sword. I'll kill you. Senna raised her head. She glared at me even more intensely than before. Her movements were incredibly fast, in spite of the fact that she was holding a gigantic sword. She kicked off the ground like she was starting a 500-meter dash. The tip of the sword scraped against the ground as she brandished it. Closing the distance between us, she raised the weapon above her head. In that instant, my instincts worked out exactly what kind of situation I was in. She was serious. Senna was deathly serious. Ah! As I lay face up in a total heap, I let out a shriek. Oh, that's me. I thought it was Senna. I couldn't run away. None of this made any sense. Getting a game over like this, desperately running away from Shogun, yet getting surprise attacked by Senna as a result of it. It was far too ridiculous. Far too sudden. I didn't want this. I didn't want to die. I really didn't want to die. Yeah. Right then, a single silhouette leapt above me and landed between me and Senna. When I looked to see who it was, I realised it was Rimi. She stretched her arms out wide to bar the way of the approaching girl. Was she putting her life on the line just to shield me? Move. But if she did that, she was going to die. I didn't want that. What's going to happen? Nishijokun's got to be careful around Sakahata-shan. Suddenly, what Kozupi had said before reappeared in my mind. Pale light leaked past Rimi's outstretched arms. Oh yeah. Sakihata-shan is Remy, isn't it? Sakihata-shan. Sakihata. Chaos Herd. That's Remy, right? Yeah, Remy Sakihata. Remy?
Don't you dare lay a finger on Taku.
Unifying the overflowing light, she placed her arms together. Here we go. The air warped and shook. Coming seemingly from thin air, feathers of shining light burst around Remy and danced in the surrounding air. And then what appeared in her hands. What the hell? Effortlessly blocked the fierce downward swing of Senna's gigantic sword.
And don't you dare torment him like this.
It was all too graceful to be called a sword. All too imperial. Enough to easily be mistaken for the wings of an angel. Then I realised a certain fact. That she, Sakihata Remy, was a giglomaniac. I mean, of course she was. Did you think anything less? Whoa, she looks weird. Overwhelmed with shock, Aoi Senna looked at the face of the girl that stood before her. That winged sword that had so effortlessly blocked the attack of her D-sword was clearly a D-sword itself. If the girl she was now faced was not accustomed to wielding a D-sword, she would not have been able to block Senna's attack with such perfect timing.
Wowie zowie! Sakihata-shan was also a giglomaniac.
Zoe stared down at the three people from atop the container house, as if she was a spectator. Her dangling legs swung back and forth again and again.
Sure. Acting carefree for someone who ruined my surprise attack,
thought Senna, clicking her tongue inside her head. That's an odd thing to say, clicking her tongue inside her head. However, despite her moving thoughts, she did not remove her gaze from Remy's eyes. Her opponent had a brooding look on her face. Nishijou Takumi moaned from behind Remy, having sunk to the ground in a pathetic display. Senna's target was ultimately him, so she had no intention of fighting with Remy. Besides, this was no manga, or was it an anime, so a D-sword battle was not a particularly realistic thing to occur. Who is saying that, do you think?
Do you know what exactly he did? Do you know what exactly he did? The OER2 formula, I'm fully aware.
Whoa. Senna had been interrupted by a quiet, sorrowful yet decisive response. Upon hearing that, Senna tightened the grip on her D-sword.
Fine, then I'll... If you force Taku to awaken, this will end in an even bigger disaster. Then I'll kill him before that. Even if you try, you will never be able to.
Senna decided that there was no point in talking further. She brandished her sword in a lie stance, whatever that is. Before her, Remy stood readily. Nishijou Takumi lay about 5 long strides away from her. At this distance, it would take 3 seconds to resolve things completely. Without hesitation, Senna rushed toward Remy from the front. Aiming straight for the girl, she swept her D-sword toward her flank. Remy attempted to block it like before. But... Senna's strike had been a feint. Her sword passed through both Remy's sword and body. Oh no. She'd realized she'd release the real Boot. At present, Senna's D-Sword was no more than a delusion. That's cool. That's like what people say about lightsabers, isn't it? If you could turn a lightsaber off so easily, why don't they do that during combat? And I think the lore reason is that I think the Sith rely only on their power, and the Jedi don't want to. What is it? That they don't want to. Taints the sense of honor. I don't know what it is. Something like that, right? It could touch nothing. It could cut nothing. It could kill nothing. But that had been her very aim. Due to having twisted her body to block the attack, Rimi's reaction would be slowed. During that time frame, Senna had already slipped past her and made it 2 steps closer to Takumi. She rebooted the sword once again in an instant. This is it. Takumi faced Senna with eyes of fear as she effortlessly rebooted the sword. With her D-Sword that had once again become real, she moved to pierce Takumi's heart. Senna. A figure flew past the corner of her vision. The instant she heard its voice, the girl, fiercely shaken by it, missed her target. What is happening? The tip of the sword grazed Takumi's leg and stabbed into the concrete. Senna slowly raised her head. You? Then let out an angry growl. At the edge of the roof, their form lit by the backdrop of the setting sun, stood a single man like a phantom among the corporeal. Oh, the homeless man. His face was pale, deathly so. The pupils that resided within his sunken eyes were surrounded by bloodshot whites. His head hung toward the concrete, his face without expression. The instant Senna saw the man, neither Takumi nor anything else mattered to her anymore. The man Senna had chased after without end, her sole object of hatred. The man that had abandoned her and betrayed his family entirely, her father? That very man now stood before her very eyes. I finally found you. Senna took a step toward the man, gritting her teeth to hold back her overflowing hatred. She once again brandished her D-Sword. Another step forward. Is this the man? What voice did I give this man? There was nothing I could have done. I had no choice but to offer your mother as a sacrifice. As a sacrifice? Shut up. As she met her end, your mother could not have looked more at peace. For this reason, Senna, I want you to be at ease. From your mother's sacrifice, we obtained amazing results from the experiment. She gave her life for the sake of her world, and in the process, she was of great use to us all. You should be proud of your mother for her meritorious act of service, just as I am. Shut your goddamn mouth! Blood rushed to Senna's head, rendering her no longer able to see anything other than the man that stood before her. She dashed. Is he dead? It happened in an instant. She flew at the man's breast, closed the distance between herself and it, and sunk her D-Sword deep into its centre. That was Senna's long-held desire. She had roamed Shibuya daily for the sole purpose of killing this man. She dreamt of the day she would kill him countless times. It had never left her mind. After all this time, I've avenged you, Mum. She went to remove her sword, which would grant her the opportunity to move away from the man. Before her sword could come free, the man wrapped his arms around Senna and gently embraced her. Stop it. Don't you dare touch me like we're family. Ugh. Her entire body stood on end. Him doing this now, after everything that had happened, only served to nauseate her. Long ago in the distant past, the bond of family between Senna and the man had been severed. Even so, for some reason she was unable to comprehend. Senna could not bring herself to throw off the man, an inability that deeply surprised her. His warmth, his large chest, the deeply real presence of her father. Her hands dyed in red.
Oi. This is...
Oh. The delusion you wished for? What? Who's saying that? When she heard that whisper, Senna immediately understood. Errors slipped into dead spots. Psychological attacks. Enchantment. Seeing someone's delusions. When Senna realized her mistake, it was already too late. She lost her balance, and together with the man, her body was cast off the roof. To Senna, the ground that lay 8 stories below looked, oh, so far away. Unable to comprehend what the hell was going on, all I could do was watch as the scene unfolded. Senna had suddenly run to the edge of the roof, lost her balance for no reason that I could see, and was about to plunge to the ground right this very second. Her body was about to disappear beyond the edge. She's gonna fall. I could only let out a whisper. I tightly closed my eyes. She'd committed suicide. Senna had intentionally dove to her death. I didn't understand why, as if I could understand. She'd assaulted me out of nowhere. Serves her right. That girl had just been yet another enemy. No matter how long I waited, the resounding splat of her body hitting concrete did not come. I timidly opened my eyes and tried to see what was going on. Senna wasn't falling. Instead, she was on her knees. Remy stood right beside her. She was holding Senna's arm. Had Remy saved her? Senna threw her D-sword away and started crying like a child. What the hell was even going on anymore? From my perspective, it looked like Senna had tried to die of her own volition. I'm sorry for making you see something so painful, but I really had no choice. Remy had done something to Senna. The usually bright and happy girl I was used to felt like an entirely different person now. A brooding face, sorrowful whispers, quivering eyes. The girl standing over there wasn't the Remy I knew.
Sakihata-shan!
Oh, it's her. A voice reverberated in my mind. Kozupe hadn't moved from her position on top of the container house, meaning she was still staring down at us.
It's all dunny dunzo now, righto? If Sakihata-shan's gonna try to clunky splatter whap Senna-shan up, Kozupe's not gonna let you! If you do, Kozupe'll smash you into teensy-weensy pieces.
A chill ran down my spine. Kozupe was speaking with her usual airheaded anime-esque tone of voice, but the things she was saying were deadly serious.
Yes. I'm done. I was never planning to do anything to Aoi-san to begin with. As long as she never sees Taco again, I'll let her go. That's completely impossible. I mean, Kozupe and Senna-shan and Takumi-shan are all friends. White? White. That's whitey white. White? Takumi-shan?
The gears in my mind refused to move. If someone told me that everything that had happened was a dream, I'd probably believe them just like that. Come to think of it, why had Senna attacked me so suddenly? Was Senna my enemy after all? It's
all your fault.
Senna raised her head as she sobbed. She made no attempt to wipe away her tears and stayed on the ground where she had fallen to her knees. Her gaze was fixed on me.
It's all your fault that my family...
I was completely bewildered. She was launching nothing but raw emotion at me. What the hell did she think I'd done? I hadn't done anything. I hadn't screwed with anyone's lives, and I certainly didn't know a damn thing about Senna's family. I was harmless as could be.
Harmless?
She read my mind. Is this Senna or is it Kozapi? Let's assume it's Senna, because that's more her vibe, isn't it?
Even though the monster you created could destroy the entire world, you dare call yourself harmless?
Destroy the entire world? More Shuini shit again. I turned my gaze to Remy for help, but she had her back to us. She stared vacantly at the darkening sky.
There's no point.
Her figure, her voice, was the sheer loneliness they gave off merely in my imagination?
Taku doesn't know anything.
With that statement, Remy spoke as if she knew everything there was to know.
Cut the bullshit. The chaos infesting Shibuya right now. It all started with that formula.
Formula?
Don't say any more.
And we're going to see what Senna's going to say next time on Borderland Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I will see you next time. Have a great evening. Take care of yourselves. Bye, 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 bye. Bye.